Hi folks, this is Klaus of Top Hydraulics. We're going to show you today how to manually close or emergency close or manually open the hardtop on a 2007 through 2013 E93 BMW hardtop convertible. And this is a big deal. I'm really excited about it because manually closing or opening the top is supposed to be a dealer-only item. And we can show you in this video how to do it yourself with basic tools. It takes two people. It's not terribly hard. Just watch the videos. We actually have two videos. This video here is the shorter version. We also have a longer version that shows you more detail, in particular how to use the electric motor inside the top to electrically lock it down once it's been manually retracted, and how to electrically lock it in the front once it's been manually erased. In most cases you don't need that particular procedure because the electric motor in the top will still work. Most people have a problem with their pump or hydraulic leaks or some sensors in the top, and in most cases that electric motor still works if you just start out the roof closing or opening procedure the way you're used to it by turning on the ignition and pushing or pulling that button. Typically the latch will do the first step anyway. So again, this is the short version and you only need some basic tools. We'll show you quickly how it's all done. The basic tools are a T25 Torx wrench. That is for some minor trim removal. A 4mm Allen wrench to relieve pressure on the hydro unit, the hydraulic pump in the trunk. And ideally an upholstery removal tool or trim removal tool, or some 90-degree bent nose long reach pliers. They're cheap to get and very handy to have. These replace a fancy BMW tool, and we'll show you shortly how that is applied. So we'll try to take this all in one shot because this is supposed to be a quick go through. So I'll just keep talking here. What we need to do first is relieve the pressure on the pump in the trunk. Now, as I said, we have already turned on the ignition, pulled and actually pushed the button forward, and that made the electric latch inside the front panel unlatch from the mounting in the trunk. Next, we open the trunk with the blade key that's inside the oops, how does that work here? I'll turn this counterclockwise. And the blade key that comes out of your key fob. We open the trunk. We have already pulled out the trim panel. Here is the trim panel, bottom trim panel that we pulled out of the trunk. It pulled straight out. Then we have removed this cover on top of the pump inside the trunk. It simply had three 10mm hex head bolts on it. We took this cover out, and now we take our 4mm Allen wrench and put it onto the pressure relief valve in the pump. We turn the pressure relief valve one turn counterclockwise. We'll blend in a still shot into this video of where this valve is in the pump. And again, one turn counterclockwise opens this pressure relief valve. Then we close our trunk lid again. Next, we have to take out two trim panels. This one on top on the driver's side, the other one on the passenger side. To get these panels out is, well, first we need to unlock the car because this thing tends to lock itself. Let me find the key that I had just tossed into the car. And there we go. The car is unlocked. And next we take these rubber corners off the trim panel. To do this, we slide our upholstery tool behind a couple tabs that are inside this rubber, and try try to get your upholstery tool right behind those tabs so that you can pull those tabs straight out. If you're not watching out and you make a mistake like I did, then one of these tabs will come out of the rubber, and you'll later on have to just push it back in. So we have removed this front corner of the front rubber corner from the trim panel. Next, we put a Torx T25 wrench into the front tab that the windscreen would be fastened in. Pull this, unscrew this bolt, and then we pull this panel out. The way the panel pulls is upward. There's several tabs holding it to metal tabs on the outside, and there's the plastic that slides into grooves in the rear. We lift this up, and then at some point this aluminum tab clears the orange holder in the back here. Now this panel is almost out. We just unhook the electrical connector for the antenna here, and we do the same thing on the other side. Then next step is opening this coupling. This coupling is currently just holding down the rear module, which is the trunk lid. The way we open this coupling is by extending the cylinder on it, and the coupling at the same time when the top is closing will also serve to lock down the rear portion of the hardtop to the rear of the car. So the closing is a tad more complicated than the opening. To open this, we'll superimpose some still shots again of how we're applying this tool. This 90-degree bent nose long reach tool we put on the inside of the cylinder, between the cylinder housing and the rod end. The big advantage is this tool is rounded. It will not scratch up our cylinder shaft. You want to watch out not to scratch the shaft. Then we push that cylinder back all the way. This top is unlatched. This coupling is unlatched. I'll do the same thing on the other side. We've cheated a little bit. We've taken the bolts out already. So I'm taking this trim piece out. I'm putting my tool in here again, pushing the latch back. Cylinder shaft is extended about 2 inches. Now both couplings are open. I can pull back the rear module or trunk lid, lift it up. It's all the way back there, and this is where I'll need some help. We'll put a spacer back in here that is 13.5 inches long, 2x4, or a 14-inch 2x2 would work as well. We rest the spacer under the ball joint of the gas strut back here. Let me see, I need to push it just into the right position for it to stay in place. There we go, we got it. We have the rear module secured in place. BMW would be selling a fancy tool that you clip onto the hydraulic struts to keep the module open, but this will do the trick. Now, in order to lift the top, we don't want to grab the glass panel. We actually grab under the front panel, which currently is the lower panel in here. It does take 2 people to raise the top. If you were to do it only from one side, you would likely bend the frame. You would have to be really good, strong, and careful as one person to lift this top alone. So it should be 2 people lifting this carefully, grabbing the front shell both underneath on the front and in the rear. We leave the top in the stacked position. Stacked means these 3, meaning front, middle, and rear panel, are stacked on top of each other. We take out our spacer, let the rear module fall into place. It actually takes a little bit of pushing to get into place. Then one hand under the rear shell. We push the rear shell back. Now you see that the front shell is starting to lift. They are linked together. So we support them both at the same time. And once we're over the higher spot here, the top will just slowly fall into place. There we go. We push down on all four corners, meaning front, middle front, rear middle, and the rear. Next thing, we get our 90-degree bent nose tool, which I must have left on the other side. Here it is. Take that tool, pull it into the joint on the coupling here, push down and pull at the same time. This one is a little bit stubborn. It takes more effort than I was expecting. There we go, it's fully latched. In theory or in practice we do the same thing on the other side. Then all we need to do is turn on the ignition, push the button forward, the roof locks itself down. If it does not lock itself down, then you have to watch our second video that shows how to manipulate this electric motor.